2 Peter chapter 1, verses 5 through 7. For this very reason, make every effort to supplement your faith with virtue, and virtue with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with steadfastness, and steadfastness with godliness, and godliness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love. A native recited the following poetry to a missionary. Go on, 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 go on. There were several more verses of the poem, and they were all the same. Over 50 years ago, in a college class on how to prepare sermons, one of the assignments was to preach at a congregation during a worship assembly. The professor was present to grade the sermon. I used this poem to introduce the sermon I preached. After I finished preaching, the professor, who was also the preacher at the congregation, said, "We can be thankful that Tom did not go on, go on, go on." The sermon was on the subject of perseverance. Peter, in his second letter, tells his readers to add perseverance. In the ESV that I just read from, the word is translated as steadfastness. Other translations have patience, endurance, patient endurance. Dwayne Warden says in commenting on the adding of perseverance, he says, self-control serves as a platform from which perseverance may be added to the Christian character. Now, the King James Version translates perseverance as patience. And while it's true that patience and perseverance are sometimes close in meaning, more often patience is the ability to deal with frustrations or aggravations in an even-tempered way. Patience in that sense requires a different Greek word. The word that Peter chose designates longevity, steadiness, and steadfast endurance. It is the quality that gets Christians through discouragements, calls them back from temptations, and helps them continue in the faith they have professed. So perseverance is a good choice for the Greek word Peter used. Even though I entitled the sermon Steadfastness, we're going to be using perseverance and endurance and a number of other words as we read through different texts and as we talk about the quality that Peter said needed to be added. Again, from William Barclay, the King James Version translates the Greek word here, patience. But the current use of the word patience is too passive a word. The word always has a background of courage. The word translated here does not simply accept and endure. There is always a forward look to it. It is the courageous acceptance of everything that life can do to us and the transmuting of even the worst event to another step on the upward way. Raymond Kelsey said, "We are to endure with perseverance in the face of difficulties. While self-control enables one to deal successfully with his inner desires, steadfastness enables him to be victorious in spite of trials from without. The Christian, fortified with this virtue, does not give up, but continues with resolute determination. Steadfastness pictures a victorious faith, far beyond merely passive resignation." Well, on the internet, you can get on a Bible page that has many, many different translations. You can put in a word, and then you can look at a verse, and you can look at all the different translations of that verse. And so as I looked at the verse that has here steadfastness or perseverance, I found this on some translations which we don't usually see. The International Children's Bible translated perseverance as the ability to hold on. We've all seen, I think, the picture of the cat who's hanging on to the limb for dear life, holding on no matter what the circumstances. The New International Reader's Version says the strength to keep on going. And the Worldwide English translation, which is only the New Testament, says, when you have learned more, be strong to do what is right. Then go on doing what is right, even if it is hard. As you go about doing right, keep close to God. In a very real sense, steadfastness, endurance, perseverance is indeed going on, going on, going on. No matter what we face, we keep on going. From the habit of self-control springs endurance. That's the temper of mind which is unmoved by difficulty and distress, and which can withstand the two satanic agencies of opposition from the world without and enticement from the flesh within. Now, Satan is working on us continually. And he works in different ways. There are all those temptations that come from outside of us. There are a lot of temptations in the world that bombard us. There are the temptations that do come from within, our desires. Peter says, add self-control. Say no to certain desires. But he also says, persevere, endure. When these things come from without, these challenges, you keep on. The mature Christian does not give up in living the Christian life. It was described that the person who is a Christian and who's enduring, persevering, is like the steady shining of a star rather than the brilliance and speedy eclipse of a meteor. True faith endures. Aristotle, the philosopher, said that self-control is concerned with pleasures and endurance with sorrows. For the man who can endure and put up with hardships, he is the real example of endurance. The Christian does not endure challenges and circumstances with the view that they are the result of chance or fate. Many people think that when good things happen, it's good luck. When bad things happen, it's bad luck. The Christian has a different mindset, knowing that God is in control. There are times we may wonder if God is in control. The world's going crazy. But yes, God is in control. He created the world, the great universe. He created us. Through his providence, he has watched over his creation. And God alone knows when he's going to bring it all to an end. Those who trust in him know that God can use any circumstance in their life for good, as Paul says in Romans. We endure. We realize, as Peter says here in his letter, that God has done so much for us, and therefore we ought to make every effort to add these Christian qualities in our life. And so this endurance, this perseverance springs from faith in the promises of God, the knowledge of Christ, the experience of his divine power. Yes, the Christian believes that God is in control. His hardships and challenges are viewed in the calm light of eternity. C.S. Lewis wrote, hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. Perseverance is found in many of the New Testament list of Christian characteristics. It is this endurance, this perseverance, this steadfastness that helps us to withstand temptation, hardship, and persecution. And we look to the Lord as the basis of this quality. When we persevere, we not only endure difficulties, but we use them in a positive way, turn them into opportunities. I want to look at some different texts that use the word perseverance or steadfastness or endurance. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. The writer of Hebrews had just given that great hall of faith, talking about those from the past who showed such great faith. That faith included endurance of difficult circumstances. He says, since we're surrounded by this great cloud of witnesses, we need to put aside every weight. Here's an analogy to the race. We need to put aside every weight, the sin which clings so closely. We need to run with endurance. The Christian life is illustrated by a race. And it's not really a 100 yards dash. It's a marathon. I believe there was a well-known marathon in New York City this morning. People running for miles, and some of them will make it to the end, maybe after many hours, maybe tomorrow. Some may have to give up and not make it. The Christian is running in this spiritual race. And as he does so, he looks to Jesus, the one who started our faith, who perfected our faith. He lived it perfectly. He endured the cross. Imagine the agony of your hands and feet being nailed to the cross, of hanging there slowly suffocating. He went to the cross for us, endured the cross for us. Romans chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. Therefore, since we've been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Through him we have also obtained access by faith into this grace in which we stand, and we rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. Suffering produces endurance. We face obstacles in life. Some of those obstacles are because we are serving Jesus. But we use those obstacles to endure, to persevere. We are made stronger in those things. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 6. Paul is talking about his own persecution. He says, if we are afflicted, it is for your comfort and salvation. And if we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which you experience when you patiently endure the same sufferings that we suffer. Paul suffered persecution. He says that the Corinthians have suffered some persecution. They've had difficulties, but they are patiently enduring those. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 4. Therefore, we ourselves boast about you in the churches of God for your steadfastness and faith in all your persecutions and in the afflictions that you are enduring. They too have been facing obstacles, but they're dealing with those obstacles, overcoming them. They are known for their steadfastness. James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. The Christian is going to face various trials. Those test our faith. And testing our faith, they make us stronger if we pass the test. Produces this steadfastness, this quality of enduring. Then Revelation chapter 2, verse 2. I know your works, your toil, and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. These are the words of Jesus to the church in Ephesus. He says, I know the good things you've done. I know how you have toiled. It's been an intense work. And I know of your patient endurance, that you keep on despite the obstacles. The Christian life has obstacles. Temptation, persecution, other hardships. Sometimes we're faced with disease. The opposition can come in so many ways. But it is when we deal with these obstacles and overcome them with the help of God that we grow stronger. We build endurance. I'm able again to go to exercise at the cardiac rehab facility at Providence. Over the time that I have been there various times, I've noticed a couple of people who will get on one of the machines, and I'm not sure what the resistance is set on, but they're not moving very much, but they are moving. I applaud them for moving. But as I've gotten on the machines, first day, the nurse said, okay, do this, this. And well, it wasn't too long till I realized, this is pretty easy. I need to ramp things up. When I'm exercising, I need to feel the resistance. I need to get the heart rate up. I need to work to accomplish something. And in the Christian life, yes, we're going to have all of these obstacles. But when we approach them with faith, with endurance, we grow stronger. Gary Holloway wrote, we must persist in our faith, goodness, and self-control. Perseverance or endurance is a strong consistency in character. When times are tough and faith is tested, we continue to believe. When tempted to settle for less than the best from ourselves, we constantly seek excellence. When temptation challenges our self-control, we continue to let Jesus have his way with us. Perseverance is not so much a separate virtue, but is all the other virtues under stress. The question is, will we continue to grow in Jesus when that growth becomes difficult? Perseverance answers with a resounding yes. I closed that original sermon on perseverance. It's not the same as this one. But I closed that original sermon on perseverance with a challenge and another poem. And I think they are still a fitting conclusion. I stated, never give up living the Christian life. And then the poem, if the day looks kinder gloomy and your chances kinder slim, If the situation's puzzling and perplexities keep pressing till all hope is nearly gone, just bristle up and grit your teeth and keep on keeping on.